Welcome to the True Brewer Stew podcast. Every other Sunday, we'll release an episode of the podcast featuring an interview with a business owner in the food industry. From restaurants, to breweries, to bakeries, and everything in between. We ask them about their journey and the process of becoming a successful business owner in hopes of helping others to do the same. I'm Mike Curtin, and the podcast starts now. Welcome to the True Brewer Stew podcast. My name is Mike Curtin. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so you never miss another episode of the podcast. Thank you for joining us for episode number 5 of True Brewer Stew. Today I sit down with owner Rich Nieto from Sweetleaf Coffee Roasters in Greenpoint, New York. This has been one of my favorite interviews so far, and if you love coffee, this episode is definitely for you. Unfortunately, because of scheduling, we had to record in his place of business during business hours, which I apologize for because there's plenty of music and background noise. I like to think of it as you're sitting there in the coffee shop with us type of feel. Rich gives me details of how he struggled early on while opening Sweetleaf, but with continued research and drive for the perfect coffee, he was able to become one of the greatest coffee roasters in Queens. So here it is, episode number 5. I hope you enjoy it. Hey guys, welcome to True Brewer Stew. I'm Mike Curtin. I'm here at Sweetleaf with Rich Nieto. How are we doing, Rich? Pleasure.
Good to meet you, Mike.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yeah, of course.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the industry?
I guess I was a coffee geek at home.
Right.
I like to roast my own coffee. This is going back, I guess, about 2 decades.
Okay.
And I didn't see myself going into the coffee business, but when I had the opportunity to open up a retail shop in Long Island City, which is where I've been working for most of my life, I didn't want to pass it up, and I gave up my other business that I was doing in telecom, and I just followed my passion.
So, how old were you when you decided to open Sweetleaf?
How old was I? I guess about 34, 35.
34, 35, okay. And you opened it in Long Island City. What made you decide to open it there? You were working in that area?
Yeah. I had been working in Long Island City since I was about 13, working summers from my dad, and then started working full-time when I was 17.
Okay.
Right out of the same building where Street is now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was working out of there, and then when that space became available, I took it and gave it a shot with the coffee shop.
Right. And what was that before?
It was nothing, but a long time ago, it used to be a pizzeria.
Okay. So, you were aware that it was a recession going on around that time when you opened it, right?
Absolute worst time to open up a specialty coffee shop.
Right. And it was, I don't know how the neighborhood was then, but
Desolate.
I know it was desolate. So what made you think that was the right way to go and that it was going to be a success?
Bad idea. No, it was like, we had a good deal on the space,
Right.
and gave it a shot, but it was really tough, man. I gotta
Right.
tell you. In the beginning, we were doing like average sales of about $200 a day.
Right.
Couldn't pay the staff, with the sales. I had to pay the staff though.
Right.
So I was actually working there and working 2 other jobs to support the business.
Really?
Not paying myself, just letting the staff take the money that came in, and then had to work 2 separate jobs to try to carry the cost.
Just
for a
make
while.
ends meet.
Yeah, and what I did, I was able to, my previous business, before I closed it, I took out a loan. It had been doing okay, so I took out a loan with the bank,
Okay.
and used my credit line, and then kind of used that to live off of for like a couple of years to
Really?
help me out.
Well, I hope things are better now.
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, after what you opened your fourth shop already now, right?
Yeah, we opened up our 4th shop in Queens Plaza
Awesome.
a few months ago.
Yes, I've been there.
Okay, cool. Saw the cool wall?
Yes,
Cool
I
mural?
did.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm a firefighter right around there on Greenpoint Avenue, so we stop by all the time.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
So you're going through a tough time, probably in the very beginning.
Yeah, very
Were you married then, or did you have a
Yeah.
girlfriend? Was family life tough?
I have a great wife,
Okay.
so she was really supportive. I had young children, two young daughters, like just a few years old. So it's the really best time to take a risk,
Right, for sure. For sure.
So she held it down, and really took care of all like the home stuff, and we just had to do some lifestyle changes,
right.
And just kind of live within our means, and
of course,
and do what you have to do, man, to keep it going. You got to just keep pushing forward.
Right. So the morale of your friends as well as your family were pretty positive, or did you get a little naysayers, or?
Yeah, I guess I don't listen to that stuff, like I try to keep really positive mental attitude.
Awesome.
And I just kind of just don't really listen to like negative things, like, oh, there's a recession, it's the worst time. It's like,
yeah, right, bounce right off it.
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. How did you go about finding the capital to start up your coffee shop?
Yeah, we started off with not a lot. There was a lot of build out ourselves. At the time, I had a partner,
right.
So he did a lot of the build out himself, and we kept it pretty inexpensive. We had bought a lot of furniture at the Marché in Paris to resell.
Right.
And we still had it, and we were like, well, we don't have money for furniture, and we can't wait to sell this, so let's use it.
Right.
So we kind of the building is a 19th century building, so it plays really well to this old world furniture. So we put like an old armoire there. We had all these little old antique pieces that we put around. It kind of gave the place a lot of its charm.
Gotcha. And what was one of the hardest adjustments you had to make during that time while opening?
That's a good question. I guess it was tough. Like I wanted to be at the shop all the time.
Right.
But I realized that there was no way for me to be there as much as I wanted to be, because I had to work outside of the shop if I was going to be able to keep it afloat.
Right.
So having to do other stuff away from the shop and work jobs that I didn't really want to work to be able to support your dream seems like you're not able to oversee it, but it kind of helped me with our whole vision for how we make coffee, because I would freak out so much about how everything was tasting.
Right.
And I had to try to figure out a way to make more formulas and ratios, and I found that weighing things gave me a really consistent product. So if I could teach everyone to weigh things, your espresso in, your espresso when it's pouring out, all your coffee, everything was like down to a science, a method to the madness, so we could walk away and know that it was repeated instead of leaving it up to, back then things were very different. That stuff wasn't really happening. You didn't see people weighing their espresso like now you do.
Right.
But at that time it was kind of like, you're a weirdo,
right.
What are you doing?
Did you do like research on that, or was
yeah,
that just something
I really dug into a lot of, there wasn't a lot of sites that would help. Specialty coffee was kind of new, so you had to go underground and go into the geek sites.
Right.
So I found that the best information out there was actually from the home barista community.
Okay.
So, because they would just geek out.
Right.
And I found like my first like coffee hero on these sites. His name was Andy Schechter.
Okay.
And he was the first one that I learned from on just by his posts, that the reason why volume didn't work when you were making espresso and trying to use volume as a measuring as a measuring tool, it didn't work because of the CO2 in the espresso. So if you worked with fresh espresso, you had a lot more crema, which is very light, but it fills up the cup a lot. So we used to use shot glasses. That's how we were taught to do volume. And then I was like, but it's different every time, every day it's different.
Right.
And it was like, well, that's the way coffee is. That's what I was taught, that that's the way coffee is, and that you can't. What I was looking for was more concrete formulas and answers, and that just did not exist.
Right.
So that's what my trainers were telling me, and that didn't jive well with my personality. So I found reading Andy's post that it was because the CO2 would be a lot more present in the beginning of the roast of a few days off roast versus a week off roast where the crema dies down. So that's why the formula didn't work. But if you wait the shot, then you can repeat.
Gotcha.
And then once we learned to do that, I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Right.
So then I was like, guys, this is how we got to make our coffee. You weigh this much in, you weigh this much out. And that's changed through time with different baskets that have come out and different approaches to coffee. But the idea of weighing still was still applicable today.
Right. For a consistent product.
For a consistent product. Right. And then that's all I really wanted. I wanted excellent coffee consistently.
Right.
And when you weren't away, you're wondering if the person's dialed in properly and they're serving coffee the way you want them to be serving it. Right. It would drive me mad. Right. So that was really the hardest part. But once we got the formulas down, it made things a lot easier.
Okay. What was one of the biggest fears when opening, and is it still a concern to you now?
Biggest fears? I don't really try to feed into that too much.
Right.
But, well, I guess the fears were just the unknown of it all.
Right.
Like, but I can't really say it was scary. I had a certain idea. I had done international telecom before I got into coffee.
Okay.
So I had been to every Latin American country that there is, pretty much. And my idea was, let's open up this coffee shop. It's never going to be able to support my family because it was too small. At that time, it was a third of the size that it is now.
Right.
It was only 300 square feet. We hadn't taken the storefront next door yet.
Oh, okay.
And the idea was to be coffee importers. I was like, I was used to doing wholesale telecom. So I would buy, I'd buy minutes and then resell them. So it was moving big numbers all the time. It was like you made pennies, but if you sold, a lot of minutes, you made a lot of money.
Right.
So the idea was really to be importers. I said, I'm going to use all my connections in these countries to get source coffee, bring it here, and sell it in bulk. That's what my business was, wholesale. That's what I knew. So and I was like, all right, so I started calling my contacts. Can you get me coffee? Can you absolutely, of course. But they started asking all these questions, like what varietals do you want? What elevation are you looking for? And I was like, I don't know shit about coffee. I'm realizing now that I don't really know coffee. Like I roasted coffee at home. I know what good coffee tastes like to me, but that doesn't really. I'm like, I have no ability to make a decision on this is a great coffee. I'm going to bring it back to the United States and sell it. So I said, before we can do that, I need to learn about coffee in an in-depth way. And then I went down that rabbit hole and had my mind blown.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, I had no idea there was so much to learn about coffee.
Just coffee alone.
Just coffee alone. And I was like, I started to really get into the science of making coffee and the art of making tasty coffee.
Right.
And then I got lost there for years. All I wanted to do was make coffee. Like my favorite times was being a barista.
Right.
I could just prepare coffee and just taste it and see if I do this, what does it do to the coffee? And if I do that, what does it do to the coffee? That was fascinating to me. And then I was like, oh man, I don't care about wholesale. I don't care about wholesaling it, importing it. I just want to make coffee. That's what makes me happy. And at that point, I was like, you know what? My idea of before opening businesses to make money, it changed. It was like I realized that I'm not going to make a lot of money in this type of business, but I'm so happy.
Right.
I love going to work that it doesn't really matter. Like I could live off of this. I could find a way. I'll make it happen.
Right.
Until it was time to pay back the loans.
Yeah. Was there a defining moment for you that you knew things were going in the right direction and was going to be successful?
That's really good questions.
Thank you.
Um,
I thought long and hard about these. I did my own research.
Oh, good. I would say that the first, I had a few aha moments. My first one in coffee was when we had just opened up Sweetleaf and I flew out to Seattle. There was a big coffee festival over there. So I went to go check out the festival and it was okay, but more importantly, it was the coffee culture in Seattle. New York had no coffee scene at the time.
Well, that's where Starbucks originated, I believe, right? That was
Yeah.
their first coffee house over there? Okay.
Yeah. So seeing the third wave specialty coffee scene moving in Seattle, going to latte art competitions and seeing the community itself was completely mind-blowing. I was like, I didn't understand that businesses would work this way together. That I grew up with, like, if I do this for a living and you open up a place across the street that does the same thing, like, we're not friends.
Right.
We're competitors, and I'm going to take you out.
Okay.
Like I have to be better than you because my competitive nature comes out. Going over there and seeing the camaraderie and how they all supported each other and cheered for each other and visited each other's shops, and I was like, this is so
mind blowing.
This is so hippie-like.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Right.
And I realized also that's when I first saw like the state-of-the-art equipment that coffee shops were using.
Right.
I came back and I told my partner at the time, we got to sell everything that we have or just dump it, and we got to buy all new equipment. We're doing this all wrong. And that's when we have to buy beautiful espresso machines. We have to buy state-of-the-art grinders. We have to buy the best equipment if we're going to make the best coffee. I just want to make the best coffee.
Right.
And then I guess my next aha moment was when I realized that you could make formulas to not just produce but reproduce great coffee. And then I was like, when I had those moments of like, yes, like every day it tastes great because we're following this formula and it works. And it was like, we can do this. So now this is scalable. It's not just like I have to be the one pulling shots or I have to get like an all-star barista who just has all the training in the world to understand what is going to work and what isn't going to work. I'm like, this is repeatable. We can do this. We can open up more shops and repeat this.
Right.
And that was, I guess, the next aha moment.
Right.
And kind of feeling legitimized in there was a New York Times article written by Oliver Strand probably back in 2009 or maybe it was 2010. It was like New York is finally taking its coffee seriously, and they had a short list of coffee shops that were making great coffee in New York and were worth checking out. I heard about this article was coming out, and I went crazy trying to locate. You couldn't locate a writer back then.
Right.
You couldn't just like, let me go like his like Twitter handle or on his Insta. Like, he wasn't. I was like, how do I reach out to this like writer, Oliver Strand, and be like, hey, like, we're here. Like, come check us out. Like, I know we're in this like area that no one knows about in Queens.
Right. It's just a big exposure right now.
Right. But it's huge. We want to be on the map. Like, like we deserve to be on this list. And I finally got a hold of him, and he said, well, the article's finished. It's coming out tomorrow, but I would totally pick it up if I were you. I was like, I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated because I thought it was like our real chance to kind of make our mark on the New York coffee scene. So I ran the next day to go buy the paper, and like I picked it up, and we were there. Like he had come.
That much.
Yeah, he had come and he had checked us out.
Right.
And he had done like his research around, and we were the only shop in Queens. We represented the whole borough, and then starting to see people come check us out. because they may have lived where I live out in Flushing or around Bayside, and like coming to us to check out our coffee, it gives me goosebumps. I was like, we would come in and like, I'm coming from like Little Neck, Great Neck, Bayside, and I was like, you drove 45 minutes to have our coffee, and they're like, we had to try this coffee.
Right. It's a great feeling.
It was amazing. It was like so humbling and so like rewarding and validating, and I was like, this is what I'm doing the rest of my life. It's worth it.
Yeah, it's worth the drive, absolutely. Were there any mistakes that you had made that you learned from to better your business? Nothing like little ones, but anything that was like a major mistake that you're like, oh man, it's bad, we can never let this happen again.
Major mistake that we made. You know, we've made plenty of mistakes, for sure. I've made a lot. It's usually out of ignorance.
Right.
So I might learn something, like we opened up this roastery here without an afterburner.
Okay, what's that?
So an afterburner is a machine that burns the smoke off of the smoke that's leaving off the roof.
Okay.
From the roasting process. There's a machine that will burn that off, so it comes out like vapor instead of smoke. I'd rented out the space. I had bought a roaster. I had started roasting, got it installed. This all put me into like a few $100,000 into this roasting business that we were just going to kick off in 2014.
Right. And
I get a neighbor calling DEP like crazy every day, and DEP, I had to shut down the roastery for 8 months.
Jesus.
I was losing it. I was like, I like, what am I gonna do? Like, that's it. Like, my roasting business that I started is now like no longer, and I got saved by one of the coolest guys. His name is Brian, and owns Native Coffee Roasters. Okay. He wasn't even a friend of mine.
Right.
I just knew him.
Right.
And I reached out to him and said, I got this problem. Is there any way you'll let me roast out of your roastery?
Right.
And he was like, yeah, man, absolutely. Like, totally. Like,
awesome.
And kept us in the roasting business while we figured out this thing. So I would never do that again.
Right.
Open it up without an afterburner. But it's stuff that you don't know, so I don't, I think you only regret when you know better and then you don't do it.
Yeah.
But a lot of stuff that we've made mistakes on was stuff that we didn't know, I didn't know. So what can I do? I won't do it again, but
lesson learned.
Lesson learned.
That's it.
That's it.
Strategies for marketing.
Yes. Still, it was, our strategies at first were we found it was helpful to get stories written about you, kind of like, we spent a lot of our time just trying to keep our name in the top of like the coffee community. So when people were writing about like the best places in this neighborhood or in that neighborhood or must check out and stuff like that, like we were getting put on these lists frequently, and we focused on just staying in touch with Time Out New York and Grub Street and New York Magazine, all that stuff, and just consistently just kind of staying there, letting them know what was going on. But then it got to a point where there's so many shops now that no one really goes out of their way too much to go visit a particular shop. I mean, some will, but it really is not a thing anymore. There's really good coffee, within anyone's basic radius. If they live in New York City, they can find, whether they're in Brooklyn or whether they're in Manhattan or even now in Queens, the Bronx. You can find coffee. You can find good
sometimes
coffee.
It's really hard still.
Sometimes it's really hard. Yeah, you're right. But but it's not impossible and it's not as difficult as it used to be.
Right.
So that won't cut it anymore. Like making it on a list is not going to generate your business. So now it's about, we're kind of reanalyzing all this now about how do you market, because it seems like everything has to be social media driven, and like you have to be really heavy on Instagram or on Facebook or on that stuff. And I guess I probably don't do a good job of it because I'm the one doing it, and I find other things I need to do. But I don't know how important that is anymore. I find like I'm starting to find that a lot of times, just recently, I've started to think that it's very distracting. Social media is a very time-consuming thing where just I'm realizing that deep work is really important.
Okay.
Kind of, I just had a good 90-minute session before I came to this interview with you, where I just closed myself in my office and what do I want to really work on? What's really important to do? And starting to I want to focus on these things, and then doing that.
Right.
And I feel that that's going to pay off way more than constantly getting an alert on my phone that pulls me away every minute. Someone just liked something, and I got to comment back to them, and I got to just stay engaged, because if I don't stay engaged, then what am I really doing?
Right.
Someone just emailed me, I have to kind of answer. I'm kind of trying to bring those things down where it's enough communication on this email. I don't have to answer everything,
Right.
because I realized that my whole day can be just dictated by my inbox.
Of course.
I go to sit down, and then feel I did so much work today. I have 3 different emails that I work off of, and I'm I ripped through my emails today. Did I really accomplish what I wanted to, or did I accomplish what was thrown in my face?
Right.
So I'm kind of realizing that it's really important to focus on the direction you're trying to go in and stay focused. And, whether I get 120 likes or, 200 likes, it's only important if that's the project that I'm actually trying to push.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm being led instead of being a leader.
Gotcha. So how important is going into that and taking shutting yourself off? How important is it to take mental breaks for you? Just take time away from your business? Is that a thing, or is it you love it so much?
No, it's a big thing for me. I learned a lot from my father. He's really my hero as far as entrepreneurs and stuff. He came to this country with $50 in his pocket, not knowing anybody here,
right.
and just basically lived the American dream.
Right.
Worked his way from the bottom to open up his own businesses. He's a developer now. He's doing really well for himself, and has really done what I feel I never could have done. He's a workaholic. My childhood with him was not a lot of I feel our relationship really started when I became an adult. It was because now it was more about a man to a man,
right.
about work stuff, and he's always involved in sort of helping me with ideas I may kick around on something. I'll still go to him for advice. He still works every day. He's 80 years old.
That's insane.
It's insane. But it keeps him really young and active and sharp as a knife. But what I learned is that from a young age, I was I don't want to be this workaholic. I want to have a good family life, and I want to have a fulfilled life. I don't want to make money my goal in life.
Right.
Money is only good if it gets you something
right.
that you want and that you value. But the money itself, doesn't really float my boat. So I had an epiphany a few years ago where I kept saying that I was going to go away with my family. We're going to go to Europe, one summer and have this, and we were going to do vacations, and we were going to spend family quality time, building memories and things like that. And every penny. I mean, in the beginning, I didn't have any money when we opened up Sweetleaf, and my daughters were very young.
Right.
And then it's always like you get some money, and it's like, well, this is to either pay back a loan or to reinvest into another shop.
Right.
So I was always scratching for some money. I was always like, didn't have superfluous money that I could just spend.
Right.
And one day I was in the car with my daughters and my wife, and she had taken us away to Woodstock. My wife had booked an Airbnb for us, and we got this time together. And I realized we hadn't really done this much, how beautiful this was.
Yeah.
And I I was like, I'll never forget this moment, I hope. Bridge Over Troubled Water was playing on the radio.
Right.
And I looked in the rearview mirror and I was like, my little babies are big now. Like my oldest was about 14.
Right.
My other one was 10. I was like, I keep talking about what we're gonna do, and every year passes by, and I always have a different excuse of why I can't do this. So I was like, there's nothing's gonna talk me out of it. We booked a trip to Europe, and it's been 4 years now, and we've gone every year. We're gonna go to Mykonos this in a couple of weeks.
Awesome.
And I really realized at that moment that if I didn't balance my work and my family better and put as much emphasis on building that with them as I did my business, that I would regret it my whole life. And we changed that around, and I think I do a really good job now of balancing work and my family life. Keeping them in balance is really important.
That's great. Well, I hope you enjoy Mykonos. I'm actually going to Europe myself soon. So
oh yeah? Where are you going?
Santorini.
Oh, beautiful.
Santorini and going on a cruise, so stopping a little bit of Croatia, Montenegro, and then Greece.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I can't wait. So you talk about your product before. You were talking about it. You went away from it for a little bit, but are you constantly looking for better distributors, or do you have a distributor that you use that you have a good relationship with, or are you constantly looking for something else?
That's a good question. I'm a firm believer in relationships,
Right.
and that solid relationships build great things, and not scattering around and trying to just find maybe a cheaper price on something, or finding someone who maybe ought to do it's jumping around from relationship to relationship. I don't think it's not a good business model for us.
Right.
So I work very closely with Aleco. Aleco owns Red Fox Coffee Merchants.
Okay.
And I've known Aleco we've only been roasting for a little over 4 years, but I've known Aleco for a little over 10 years. He was the green buyer for Stumptown.
Okay, Stumptown.
So we used to use Stumptown when we first opened. And then after Stumptown, the owner sold off to, venture capitalists and kind of sold off the company. Aleco left, a lot of the core of Stumptown left to pursue their own things now that the owner was out of the picture.
Right.
So he opened up Red Fox right around the same time that we started roasting.
Okay.
So it only made all the sense in the world to me that we would work closely with Aleco and Red Fox.
Right.
So I fly out with him every year to Colombia, where we buy most of our coffee from. And then when I go there to buy the best coffees that we can. We have a certain mill that we like to work with. And then out of that mill, we'll taste maybe 100 or 130 coffees on the trip.
Really?
And then choose a handful of my favorites. And I believe in the business model because it's a direct trade, and it's a system that he runs where the farmers, the producers, are getting paid more money for higher quality coffee. So when we go there and we're tasting through the coffees, we're scoring them at the same time.
Right.
And I'm there to buy the best coffees I can find. I'm going there because I get to the front of the line, I get the pick of the litter.
Right.
But I'm seeking the top coffees.
Of course.
So since I'm not going there to find the best deal, I'm going there to find the best coffees. And then what makes me feel good is that when I find them, they're going to be the highest scoring coffees. We agree. We're professional coffee tasters. It's not like I'm going to say this coffee is amazing. He's going to be like, this coffee is terrible.
Right.
It's not like that. So knowing that I'm leaving there and knowing that I paid top dollar to these farmers for their coffees and seeing and talking to them and talking to their children, so a lot of these farmers, their children are now in their early 20s, and hearing them now say, we used to not know what our future was going to be because we knew that coffee was a dead end for us and that my family would never be able to live off of the coffee industry because it's just going downhill. But now working with Aleco and Red Fox and roasters like you guys, with the premiums that are paid, we're paying 3 or 4 times the amount of coffee that's price for the coffee than the coffee commodity market.
Right.
And knowing that this is going to them and that they make more money, and it's like now they're buying more land and the children like, now I bought a plot of land and now I planted new coffee, so now I know that there's a future for us here.
Right.
And when you're talking about very humble, hardworking, like beautiful-hearted people, like some of the most beautiful people I've ever met have been in these small villages, and seeing that what we're doing impacts them back at origin,
Right.
instead of the way the coffee industry was kind of designed, which is step on the people at origin and make your money here and squeeze the prices down and have them barely able to live.
Right.
And while we are happy because we sell them coffee at a high, that shouldn't be in any industry.
Yeah, it doesn't add up.
It doesn't happen.
It's not right.
It's not.
So, speaking about caring about workers, how did it feel for you to become an owner, have workers under you? Is it a stressfulness to know that your people's livelihoods?
I mean, fall on the business able to.
As far as the people you work for, is like if having to hire, fire, if things didn't work out.
Yeah, I think that I don't feel a lot of pressure. I would say I feel I feel that I have to do things in what I would consider the right way,
Right.
ethical way.
Right.
I try to treat everyone on staff really nicely. Treat them like family. Be there for them if they're in a situation of need for something. Try to be a source for them. I've always told my staff if I see that they're trying to get another job somewhere else to get some extra shifts, I would say just if you have a need, like come to me first.
Right.
Let me try to help you with your needs, and then if I can't, then it's different. But I'd rather meet your needs. I feel like you shouldn't have to have 2 or 3 different employers to be able to, have your income where you need it to be.
Right.
So I feel that in that sense, I feel a responsibility, but at the same time, it's usually not a situation where people are looking to stay with you for years. I really take care of the ones that do. Like I have managers who are now managers who have been with me for 8 years, 7 years, 5 years. It's a long time because a lot of times people, if you got to understand who you're hiring, what's their situation, what are their needs. So if I hire someone who's going to school for a certain profession, they're going to be an engineer, an architect, or anything else, right? I understand that this is a job that helps them pay the bills, but it's not their career job. So I see that person very differently than I see a person that comes in and says, my passion is coffee and I want to work in coffee for the long term. It's not that I value one over the other. It's that my vision for them is different. Like, if someone I need to make sure they can grow.
Right.
If someone's just coming to work for 6 months to 12 months while they're going to school, then my job is to give them a place of employment where they can get the shifts that they need,
Right.
whether it's 3 or 4 that fits their schedule, and then that's it.
Right.
Someone else, I got like, okay, what's my plan for you? Because if I keep you as a barista for 5 years, you're going to feel that maybe at one point you're going to be like, I wasted time here. I didn't grow.
Right.
So I have to find different things for them, whether that is to become a manager, whether that is to learn how to roast, whether it is to do sales in coffee. These opportunities need to be kind of in the pipeline for them so they know they're getting somewhere. They're gaining something.
Supposed to be a teacher to the people who want to grow here.
Yeah, and that's where I recently realized that I need to focus. This is like kind of what I'm talking about, where I'm like, it was very easy for me to constantly teach my staff when I was working alongside of them. Because if you were going to talk to me, the conversation was more than not going to be about coffee. That's where my interest was, and that's what I want to communicate and talk to them about. And that was easy, but as you get more and more shops and more staff, and you're not around each shop or spending as much time with them, then those opportunities and those moments become less and less frequent. And then I realized maybe I'm spending too much time on my inbox when I should be taking care of my staff and making sure that they feel that they're growing and learning. And it's not just like, they're not just pulling the shop. Like telling them stories about whose coffee they're working with, this guy back in Colombia or in Peru, and this is a little bit about them, and this is what they do, and this is why we chose their coffee, and then like having them understand, oh wow, like there's a story to this coffee. This coffee it's so hard to get a great cup of coffee because there's so many people along the way that can ruin it.
Of course.
Like, so a farm can have great coffee one year and not very good coffee the next year, which is why I've kind of also learned that you can't necessarily build a relationship strictly with a particular producer because they may not be able to produce the coffee that you're looking for each year. So we work with the mill, which is where these farmers go and bring their coffee, but then we want to work, and I figure if I'm trying to buy the best coffees, I'm paying top dollar. So that's not a lot of roasters are going to go to and just want to buy the best coffee they can get their hands on. They want to buy a coffee that hits their price point.
Right.
So that's not my intent when I go. So I feel that my role in this is seek out the best coffees, pay top dollar for them, and that's an integral part of the coffee chain.
Right.
And then of course I buy coffees. There's some blends that we have that are lower price blends where I clearly say when I wholesale them, this is not the best quality. If you want the best quality, you're in this area. This is our whole menu.
Right.
But sometimes someone has a coffee shop or a restaurant or something, they're like, look, I'm not looking for the best coffee I can get my hands on. I'm looking for a really good coffee at the price I need it to be for my customers. And then I try to put them where they need to be. And a lot of times, wholesale accounts will ask me something like, well, you're telling me that this is kind of where I want to be buying coffee, but why don't you use this at your coffee shops? And it's like, well, because you came to me saying you're looking for a coffee that's in this kind of price point because you have to hit your margins, especially a lot of restaurants, like they have a very tight margin that they work off of.
Right.
And they may not be charging the kind of money that maybe other places will be charging for coffee. So like I can afford to pay this, and I want a coffee that's a crowd pleaser, and like, so this is what we have for you. But at my shops, I only serve single origin coffees, and I'm
Right.
serving the best of what we have. So we're looking at things a little differently.
They're looking to put out good coffee. You're looking to put out fantastic, great coffee every single time.
Right.
I mean, that's what you do.
Yeah. So
I mean, you wouldn't expect anything less.
That's not like when we're buying these coffees. I'll come back and I'll talk to my director of wholesale, and it's like, these are beautiful coffees, and I'm like, you probably won't sell any. I'm like, but we'll serve them.
Right.
And it's like, because I may have to sell that coffee for $14 a pound. And for a wholesale account, like maybe they only want to pay $10 a pound, and like they can't afford to pay the 14, and like that's okay. Like, I'm still gonna buy the coffee because it's amazing, and then I'll serve it at Sweetleaf.
Right.
And then if anyone wants to showcase it or do something special, then they can buy these like coffees.
Right.
But my goal is not to go there and say I need to find the coffee that I know I can sell easily. I'm on the hunt for something special.
So overall, if somebody was trying to open their own place, what would you suggest to them? One good bit of advice.
At first, I guess I'd ask some questions. One of my first questions would be like, why? A lot of people open up coffee shops right now for the wrong reasons, and I see them. They come across like my path because they'll come reach out to us and say, we want to buy coffee from you. And I said, okay, great. We're going to open up a coffee shop. Cool. What's your background? I'm an architect. Okay? Or like, I own a grocery store. Okay, I'm like, so why do you want to open up coffee? Is he passionate? Like, oh, because, like, it's just, a lot of people, maybe, like, I'm done working for the man. I want to open up my own thing, and coffee seems like a good thing to do. I'm like, you probably shouldn't be opening up.
Right.
It's not really
this is not for you.
It's not for you. If you have no experience in this field,
right,
and you're not passionate about it, and you're kind of doing it because you think it's like, you want to, like, it's a cool place. Like, I just want to, it's easy. It's like, just like, then it's ignorant. Right. You're going into something you have no idea, and it's a little insulting that you think it's easy.
Right.
And then I see a lot of them open, and a lot of these we won't take the account because I'll see the kind of things that are important to the owner, and I'll say, like, this is probably not a good fit for us.
Right.
And we're probably not the best fit for you, and then they'll go off and do something else, and then I'll keep my eye on the business and see it, and then I see most of them go out of business within a year or try to sell off to someone else. And they'll come back, and I'll check in with them, and they're like, I didn't expect a lot of these things. Like, well, how could you expect them if you didn't know anything about them and you didn't even really want to learn? So
go in for the right reasons. Make sure you love it. Make sure you know about it.
Yeah, definitely. And like my old partner, when he had opened up the business and I got into it a couple of weeks after, and he had hired all green staff. Like, didn't know anything about coffee. And when I came in, I was like, everyone here doesn't really know anything about coffee.
So all green staff, you mean?
Green meaning like no experience.
Okay.
Yeah, and I said, why are you hiring? Like, we didn't know about coffee. And he's like, I don't want anyone working for me that knows more than me about coffee. And so I didn't want people to start telling me, like, do it like this or do it like that. This is why we had like
little butt head.
Yeah, we butt heads. We just had a different vision.
Right.
And I was like, I too do not want anyone working for me that knows more about coffee than me, because I'm going to learn so much about coffee.
Right.
But right now, I don't know a lot about coffee, and we need people who know and are experienced.
Right.
Because, like, we don't know, they don't know, so what the hell are we doing?
Right.
But it's definitely something where you want to work with experienced people and, like, hire people who care about coffee and will want to be with you, and see your vision. Of course. But if you kind of just are going to it because it seems like a good business and you don't know whether you want to open up a hardware store or a coffee shop,
Surround yourself with the right people.
Not the right business for you.
Of course. Did you have a funny story for us, Prep?
Yeah,
From your time in the industry?
yeah, definitely. I'll tell you like just an odd story that was one of the coolest things that I'd ever like witnessed. I had a customer when we first expanded Sweetleaf, right? There was this little room in the back that was tiny, like maybe like I don't know, 70 square feet or something. Maybe not even that big. It's like a little pizza slice in the back of the shop. And we were kind of designing the shop, and my sister is an interior designer, so she helps with so many things with us. And I was like, what do you want to do in this back room? And she said, you know what? It's so like not really. You don't see it. It doesn't really matter. Just think about what you'd want it to be, and we'll make it that. So I went home that night and thought, like, what would I really love if I could do anything? And I grew up a metalhead and like rock and roll and stuff. So I was like, I want to make a record room. I want to make a room where you can go to, and I'm gonna put my whole record collection there, all my rock and roll albums, and I want it to be like this rock and roll record room you can just go to and just have like a little sanctuary. So she was like, great. So we got this cool like red and black vintage like wallpaper that was like velvety, and we put all of my coolest albums up on the wall and filled it with records. Anyway, this guy used to come in all the time for an Americano. And he always came in, and he always came in a suit, clean shaven, was just worked in, I think, finance or something, and really serious kind of guy. Like, wasn't the most pleasant guy. Right. I really try to charm up the customers, and he was pretty like straight shooter. And then he didn't want to mince words; he just wanted to get his stuff and get out. And I always kind of looked like high strung, like stressed out, like this. And I said to this guy one day, he's like, seemed particularly down, and he asked for an Americano to stay, which he had never done before. And I said, he went to go sit down at the bar. I said, you know what, man? Have you ever sat in the back room? And he's like, no, what's back there? I said, it's our record room, man. I have all these albums back there. You should go back there and listen to some records. Right. He's like, all right. So he goes out there, puts an album on, started coming in multiple times a week, have his Americano to stay. Have his Americano to stay, go right to the back room and hang out. As months go by, I see this guy changing. Like, his energy's different, his hair's starting to grow out long, he's starting to grow out a beard. It gives me goosebumps just talking about it. Right. And I'm like, what the hell's going on with this guy? And then like one day I'm just like, I talked to him, he's like, hey man, I just want to thank you. And I was like, thank me for what? He's like, you won't be seeing me anymore. Like, I'm leaving New York. And I was like, what's going on? He's like, I realized that I'm not happy with my life. And just having this time in that room to just kind of like have my sanctuary, like enjoy and I realized like, I'm not happy, man. I'm gonna go pursue the life I want.
That's awesome.
I never saw the guy again. He left with a full beard, long hair.
That's insane.
And I was like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, transformed the man.
Dude, unbelievable. It was unbelievable. I was like, that's such a freaking, that's such a cool thing to witness.
Absolutely.
I was like, man, I always think about that guy. It's been like 7-8 years I still think about him. I always picture him like having a great time.
Yeah, surfing somewhere.
Somewhere, maybe.
Yeah. Rich, thank you very much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. I'm Mike Hurton, True Brewer Sue, Rich Nieto at Sweetleaf.
Cheers, guys.
In Greenpoint. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Hey guys, so that was the interview. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Special thanks again goes out to Rich Nieto from Sweetleaf Coffee Roasters. If you're in the need of a delicious cup of coffee, Sweetleaf is definitely your spot. I highly recommend the Rocket Fuel. Every other Sunday, I'll be releasing an episode of the podcast, so stay tuned. Like I said, subscribe. You'll never miss another episode. Once again, I'm Mike Hurton for Chew Brewer Stew. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.